So I think this game is going to be really amazing. Hope it works well on PC. Not that there was problems with the Mankind Divided, but you know, lately a lot of games haven't been working on PC, but I hope this game works. Well, I guess I jinxed it. On release, the PC version sucked. After spending the weekend preloading the game onto my PC and waiting until midnight the morning of the release, I got this message. It said it would be ready around noonish, which was weird because I knew some people on consoles were playing it on midnight. But that was the least the PC version's problems. And it ran okay on my system. It runs a little bit better now after a bunch of patches, but it's kind of weird because this is Nix's Software, who was responsible for the excellent PC ports of Rise of the Tomb Raider and Human Revolution Director's Cut. His port had many different PC options, but for some reason, it still was a broken mess on release. This game even has options for eye tracking software. You could play this game with your eyes. What other game has that? And this game was framed around controversy and even more controversy. And it is why it seems that there's a big division in the fan base. So who's right? Is anyone right? Well, let's find out. This is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Division is a theme seen throughout all of Mankind Divided, and is one of the first things that you see. Division is a thing that you see throughout the whole game, but you won't really have to do any math for it. I'm sorry, it's a really bad joke. No, seriously though, the theme of Division seems to be very heavy this year.
With movies such as Batman vs. Superman, game arguments with the likes of Battlefield 1 versus Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, just as 2016 politics had Great Britain leaving EU and, well...
China, you take China.
Finally, a certain movie starting with the letter G. This year has been really toxic.
Deus Ex: Mankind Divided causes a player to think about what they want from a Deus Ex game. Is it a game full of dense reactive hub worlds full of exploration and environmental storytelling? Is it an FPS RPG? Or is it a smart spy noir story where you uncover secrets about a grand conspiracy that make it seem like you were playing checkers when everybody else was playing chess? If you chose the last one or any combination of the three, well, we're gonna have some problems. I'd hate to start a review at its weakest point, so let's talk about its strongest. Line of sight rules, wacky emergent gameplay, having many different options, and cardboard boxes being an important mode of movement, that this Deus Ex is basically a Western Metal Gear Solid. Of course, Deus Ex has always been this way. The gameplay here is amazing, and almost every system has had some work done to it to make it smoother and more interesting to play. The first-person shooting controls have been smooth to a mirror shine. Moving from cover to cover is a breeze and really fun. You could even back out of your little crouch run animation. Hacking has been changed a bit. Certain times your path, the nodes needed for hacking would be obfuscated. Why did I use such complicated words? Which can be counteracted with the new hacking tokens that you could pick up. Firewalls and the new controls cause this minigame to be really fleshed out when you're coming against high-level security protocols, which unfortunately becomes trivial if you fully upgrade your hacking. But hey, if you did the work for it, you kind of earned it. Crafting parts that could be rolled into either weapon upgrades upgrades or new items are a new resource that really makes upgrading more interesting. It causes more decisions to be made. There are new upgrades that really play into this Rube Goldberg-esque level designs. It's really interesting. It's really fun to try to figure out how all of these systems work together. Deus Ex games are games that are good because of all the tools they give you. And this game really has some of the best level design in the whole series. At times in this game, my mouth was wide open. I was hooked. I was thinking to myself, wow. They actually did it. They made some of the most intricate level designs in the whole series. Probably the best out of all of the games. I was having fun trying to game all of the systems and just try to break the core progression to the point that I had all of the resources in the world, which is either a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you are. The old problems from the last game still kind of carry over. When Human Revolution first launched, lip syncing was a problem, and it's still a problem with this one. Your energy bar was almost always at its smallest, but this was kind of mitigated in Human Revolution with the varying energy items taking various sizes that caused you to want to use them more because they took up a lot of space depending on what it was. Really stupid upgrades make a comeback. For example, there's an upgrade for marking 40 targets. Really? I don't think I ever found a part in the game where there was 40 enemies that I wanted to mark. But there's a new upgrading mechanic that's pretty cool. Adam's newest and coolest augmentations causes his systems to overheat, and to counteract the glitching that occurs, one must deactivate certain augs that you don't really want to use. It's another thing that makes you make more decisions with the upgrade system instead of just mindlessly upgrading stuff and still being fine. That's great and all, but I just really hate this UI. I really don't know how many more takedown moves I have with just a glance. It's the same problem with the UI from Invisible War had. It's harder to make split-second decisions when all of these vague bars are there. Also, I don't think this was a big of a problem in Human Revolution, but the parts of the game where you're having conversations just seem to be less dynamic. Even with the social enhancer augmentations, I still got many different options for the Haas conversation, but I just never got the sense that there are very many options for these conversations. The main story missions don't really challenge you that much, and its side missions are where the most interesting stories of social commentary and the most interesting level designs are. Same with a lot of the urgent gameplay that comes from walking around the town and just talking to people and seeing what's going on. And there's a side mission where you have to kidnap a gangster, which involves dragging his body through a apartment complex without being seen. They're the best parts of this game. Putting in making your own challenges are some of the best replay ideas because you come up with some of the most inventive ways to solve certain situations. Just playing this game is really great if you liked Human Revolution. If it wasn't, then why would I be attempting a permadeath all kills no survivors run? Which is why the storyline was so disappointing for me. Mankind Divided starts off 2 years after the events from the last game. Giving us exposition through news broadcasts and not in-game stuff is very generic. I mean, the expositions of the other games just cause intrigue because the player was wondering, well, who are these weird people in this room and how do they relate to my character? What's going on? They both set up the world and the plot. And while this exposition just sets up world building that is more interestingly discussed elsewhere in the game. And the topic of this game is made apparent from the beginning of this terrorism via racism. No boy, it's touchy subject. So the game has this really awesome intro that gets you introduced. And then there's cutscene plays after that where you get to see the whole Illuminati, which I was not too interested in because there's nothing really mysterious about a room of 6 people who are just talking non-vaguely about the plot. So basically in the last game, the Illuminati got really worried about the power that people were gaining due to human augmentation. So they put chips into all the augmented people, which then used by an anti-augmentation crazy dude to throw a switch and make all of it the augmented people crazy, which is supposed to show how inherently bad augmentation is, which kind of makes the later racism parallels later on pretty bad. Choosing to get cybernetic parts or not is not really the same thing as being born into the same race. It's a bit closer to ascribing to a certain religion. The whole AUG incident kind of makes the whole racism kind of justified though, because everyone with cybernetic limbs, well, you can't really make a hashtag not all AUGs because, well, everybody got involved with that. The only person was Adam Jensen, who didn't really go crazy. But then again, I don't really understand why the only person in the whole universe, the Deus Ex universe, who's really questioning what really happened during the AUG incident is the crazy Alex Jones guy on the radio. He's talking about it 2 years later. Does anyone else really think to themselves, why did people go crazy 2 years ago? Is it just because they're inherently bad? Which kind of really makes the race parallels really, really awkward. Are you saying that minorities, they're inherently bad? This would be like the knee-jerk reaction of everyone banning smartphones because they all started spontaneously combusting. No more smartphones! Everyone carries brick phones now because smartphones are bad because they once exploded 2 years ago. No one would do that. They say, how they made bad batteries and they would probably regulate the battery manufacturers more. The game portrays terrorism and why a marginalized group might turn to terrorism. And that's the thing. Mankind Divided uses parallels between Black Lives Matters and other groups. Some of the comparisons I feel are very real, especially what's going on right now with Islamic terrorism and Islamic organizations. What they're going for is really clear. Though the themes of police militarization and brutality get underplayed, most of the cops in this game get portrayed as trigger-happy monsters, and there's just literally only one good cop in the entire game who is given a bit more depth to the police, but really it feels like they're still missing something.
I envy you. I look forward to the day that I can say I used to be a cop a long time ago.
That bad?
If I could do it again, I would be a fireman. No one looks into a fire and thinks, shit, does this one really deserve it? You can just follow orders and feel good about it.
And also that one cop, they're just there in a side mission and they disappear after that. That's kind of the thing. It feels like this whole game is missing something. Like there's plot threads that just drop off. I know in this channel that I've been one for trimming out all the fat in the game and reducing bloated middle acts, but this game is missing something. It's missing a proper exposition. All of these jargon are just thrown at us and we're just like, huh? It really repeats that problem with Invisible War had of being really caught up with its fiction that they created. There's a clear problem with pacing, and there's not one but two power stripping events and 2 tutorials. After exploring this entire cities for 10 hours, I came back to home base and was treated with a shooting tutorial. Really? There's a point in the game when I was playing where there's a sudden spike in tension and pacing, and I was like, are we really doing this? Is this the final mission, really? This game really feels really cut up and mixed up plot-wise and cut short for no reason. It's like if in the first game, if after defeating Gunter Herman, JC Denton looked out into the horizon and it was like, the Illuminati is still out there. Wow, that's a terrible JC Denton voice. The Illuminati. I swear, I could do it normally. The Illuminati are still out there somewhere, and I'm going to find them and stop them, yeah. I can't really come up with a better, longer speech, but, you know... Oh, you kind of want me to stop using this voice, but... you can't make me. The problems that I have with this game can be summed up by how the characters are treated. They dance in and out of the plot. There's actually so many characters, acronyms, and random organizations that they felt it necessary to make that corkboard of futuristic Polaroids connected by cyber red wire. Plot threads get left hanging and don't really get resolutions, which really sucks because I actually like a lot of the characters in this game. I wouldn't have as many problems if the plot actually went somewhere further. And well, Square Enix wants to stretch this out longer than it needs to be. When this game was first announced, one said to be made to show off the new Dawn engine, which looks nice, but in motion it animates terribly. Hopefully they can fix that in the future. And secondly, well, be a part of the Deus Ex universe, which is why I feel like this game is so piecemeal. It really feels like there's something missing. They want to make this a multimedia franchise, which I'm not really interested in. I just want to play good games that are just wholly good games. I just want to play Deus Ex 1 again. And I feel like this game is really close to being that. On paper, this game could have been if you really want to see about good videos how Deus Ex was chopped up and repackaged, and watch Jim Sterling's coverage, because I don't know. The DLC really isn't in scope of this review. Deus Ex creator Warren Spector in an interview theorized about the perfect game, and it would be this highly detailed world, but it only covered one block and would change throughout the game. While Mankind Divided isn't one block, it's the smallest geographically of all the Deus Ex games, and that's not really the problem. The world is highly detailed, but the immersion is broken. A lot of the reviews are saying that the game feels small, but you can make this game feel bigger by making the plot larger. Because this plot feels so small and not finished, then they could have really finished this. Being in Prague the whole game is not really the problem, I feel, because if the game was stretched out longer and like there was more development, if the end of the game wasn't the end of the game and it went on for longer, it was actually a conclusion that actually tied in the Adam Jensen universe with JC Denton's world, then this game would have been amazing. And you could have still stayed in Prague. I really feel like if the world really reacted and like people changed throughout the game, this would have been exactly what Warren Spector was talking about. And it's just that this world really has to be highly detailed and very immersive, but this immersion is broken. Seeing that there's a store option where you purchase upgrade points and in-game cash, anything that makes this world seem less like a world and causes less immersion, then it makes the game feel less special, and that includes a scattershot plot. So normally I don't really do this, but some people really ask me if they should buy this game or not, and I would say maybe, eventually, definitely eventually. If you're a fan of the series, you most likely already have this game, but if not, I would say wait for the inevitable Director's Game of the Collection Edition that adds the story DLC and fixes a lot of the problems with the game. This game is not a bad game at all. None of the Deus Ex games are bad, and this one is worth a play. To me, it felt like the last game was a cyber noir theme where you were solid Rick Deckard, but this one you're solid Jack Bauer. Walking around the TF-29 base really feels like you're walking around in an episode of 24. Mankind Divided right now feels far-fetched, but the same could be said about the first Deus Ex when it was first released. The scary thing is that this plot might be as prophetic as the first one. It's just time might make it seem clearer, and well, that really worries me. Deus Ex is a franchise that was founded on player choice and non-contrived plot conveniences. That's where the Deus Ex Machina comes from. It was a jab at how stupid game plots were at the time and how lazy game writing was, and which kind of makes Mankind Divided a little disappointing because the AUG incident is kind of lazy. Nothing more encapsulates the series than what Warren Spector once said.
I always felt that making a game where if the shooting is too hard for you, don't shoot, try something else. If the sneaking is too hard for you, don't sneak, try something else. And I always thought that was a really mainstream idea.
It's a game series that I feel at even its very lowest, the game overall is really good. Still, all of them accomplishes these goals. It's one of the few series where there isn't really a straight up bad game or even mediocre. Comparisons are made in between them, but overall quality must be acknowledged. Deus Ex 1 was about the fears of a turn of the century world. Invisible War was about the fears of post 9/11 world. Human Revolution was about the fears and optimism of a post 08 financial crisis world. And well, I can't really find the point that Mankind Divided plays fears of except, well, today's fears. And Deus Ex, though, has always taken current events and tried to extrapolate them for the future. And well, this is one franchise that I really hope it never really happens. Well, that's the Deus Ex Retrospective series for you guys. It's in the bag, so let's see what I should cover next. So, no!
All right, the mortars are taking a break. Johnson, go have a look.
Oh, you're still here. Hey, why? The video's over. Just go. Just go. The video's over. I mean, I won't. I don't know. I might have a video up next week. Who knows?